New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to Finding the Joy in the Journey. I am Rev Gina and I am blessed to be here with you today. We have a wonderful guest today. And before we get into that, I want to share with you, what we're here to do, what we're all about here. Finding the joy in the journey is just that. It's not waiting for everything to be just right before we make a move. Too often we say things like, well, when I have enough money, then I'll take that vacation. Or, once I get through this circumstance, well, then I'll work on changing things. Or once I lose weight, then I'll do that. Or no, your only time is right here and right now. We have to find a joyful path and appreciate it as we're going. Life happens, and it happens. Sometimes it's wonderful, and sometimes the experience doesn't feel quite as wonderful, but we can always find our way back to that path of joy. And this show is for that. Because if we knew how, we would always be there. We'd always be in that state of bliss. But we all need help sometimes. And this show is about bringing people and guests on who help people find their way back or have found their own way in amazing ways. So today is no different. Today we have an amazing guest who is, I consider, a master manifester. We have a woman who has, actually helped introduce me to these teachings. She was one of three people. She was the third person that invited me to her center. And I thought it was the most bizarre thing. But after three, I said, okay, here we go. And I met her there on Sunday. And of course, she was standing at the door greeting. And I never walked away. It was absolutely a gift. And she's a gift. And she also has manifested incredible things in her life that just blow my mind. She lives in Maui, she's married and met the man of her dreams and manifested all of this from Rhode Island. She knew where she was meant to be. She followed her heart and she created a whole new life for herself. And our guest today is Pat Hastings-Burns. And I love this woman. And she's the author of the award-winning book, Simply a Woman of Faith, and has a second book that she wrote with her beloved. And, she is a inspirational speaker, workshop leader, retreat leader, psychotherapist, radio talk show host, spiritual coach. And she actually spent 25 years in alcohol and drug therapy, She's done all kinds of things, and she's a gift. She has a weekly blog that we'll talk about that just makes me smile all the time. And that's actually part of what we're bringing up today. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much, Pat. It's wonderful to have you here from sunny Maui.
Thank you, Gina. It is my joy to be here and to connect with you and to connect with all of the people that listen. I'm very grateful. So thank you.
So how have you been since you were here last?
How to what?
How have you been since you were here last?
I've been great. I've come to this place in my life that I just feel this deep peace within me that I've never felt before. I've had times of peace, but this peace is the peace that passes all understanding. So I'm doing really good, really great. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I know your beloved is Larry, correct?
Yes.
And he helps sometimes on the blogs.
He does, and we wrote the book, It's Never Too Late for Love. We wrote that together, and we share both our experience on different subjects. Yeah.
And Cindy says, hi, Pat.
Oh, hi, Cindy. So nice to see you, Cindy.
She said she's going to have to get your new book for sure. Can't wait to read it.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. You're a star in my life.
She is wonderful. And I wanted to let people know that they can, what your book actually is. And first one was Simply a Woman of Faith, which was, of course, wonderful. And that was your path, your journey to get that, also part of getting you to Maui, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was speaking at a church and a woman came up to me afterward and said she lived on Maui. And I said, it's always been my dream to visit. She said, well, you can stay with me. And she said, you can use my car. So it was like a no-brainer. So I came to Maui 12 years ago and stayed with her for two weeks. I had never met her before. She was 87 and we just hit it off. I fell in love with Maui. And she said, come back the next year, which I did. And I heard Spirit say that he wanted me to move here. And it was, you got to be kidding. How can I move to Maui? My family's in Rhode Island. My business is in Rhode Island. And I just kept fighting with God. I can't move to Maui. I don't have enough money, blah, blah, blah. And finally, I was driving in the car and I said, okay, I got to know what's going on, God. Am I supposed to move to Maui? And I said, I have to know. And I said, I'm moving back to Rhode Island. And my hand went over my heart. And I went, ooh, that was my answer. My body was speaking to me. So I went back and told my family that I'm moving to Maui. And they were like, are you crazy, Mom? What's going on? Dog, don't you start barking now. Well, he'll just stop on his own. Anyway, I went back and told my family. They thought I was crazy, but I did, and I moved here. And I knew that I was going to meet my soulmate, and I did meet Larry, and we were married. I've been here 11 years. Hold on a minute.
Sure.
Kobe.
Our guest today is Pat Hastings, and we're talking about the move to Maui, and it's been a wonderful, even when you got Toby, I remember, because you put it in your weekly blog.
Yes.
Yeah, she has a wonderful weekly blog, and I let people know, because I encourage you every week. You have something that is truly a wonderful takeaway, that you share your most vulnerable, everything that you go through, from whether it's an accident or health stuff. You share all kinds of wonderful gifts that help us realize that we too are human, and that we get the opportunity to walk through with grace.
And Gina, we've probably all heard this, we can become bitter or better. And I chose to become better. I came from an alcoholic home with abuse. And, I was determined to heal, and I did everything I could to heal my life. And so that's why it's just such a pleasure to share every week what I do and how I got here, because it's an amazing, not only living in Maui, but on the ocean. I mean, I have this beautiful, I always dreamed of living on the water. I thought it might be a little puddle or a lake, or never could I have ever dreamed to live in Maui. Yeah. Yeah.
Cindy said she remembers her mom's wedding, that service that you did at Concordia, and then it all came true.
Whoa, I don't remember that. Wow. 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 We have such power in our minds and our intentions. And every morning, my intention is to love, to serve, to be healthy and happy, and be a vessel of love. And every day I affirm that intention coming true. Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a gift. We get the opportunity to be in this place of understanding, the teachings that we go through religious science, through New Thought in general. And, I think that it helps us to be present, and it helps us to be able to look at things in a different way than I ever did before. I certainly wasn't born with, and I don't even want to just use the word wisdom. Because we all have it, but it's being still enough to allow that access to within. There's only one mind, and we're an inlet and an outlet of that.
Absolutely. And I used to think it was the older I got, the more that I needed quiet time, which is true. But I think the more healed I am, the more that I required quiet time. And I mean, I was a busyaholic or rushaholic. I just stayed busy to medicate what was inside of me. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't feel good enough. And now I'm at a place where I love the quiet. Rushing and pushing and achieving is no longer a part of my life. And I show up every day, and I just relish the quiet and going within and listening. That's key, to the peace that I'm experiencing.
And your blog today, today's blog, the story was on let go and let God, and how you do that. And that's the gift to me that you give. It's not just because anyone can say that. And just like this show, we don't want to just, it's, of course, who wouldn't want more joy in their life? How do you get there? And you actually explain how you get there. And that's the gift of it. How do I let go? And it's acceptance. And how do I that sounds great, but how do I do that? And you actually go through that. And that's what we're talking about today is peace. This actually came from your blog. And we're going to go through these steps that you use that help how you receive your personal path of peace, what you do. And as soon as I read this, I emailed you and I said, I want you to come on the show. I want you to talk about this, because we all need to know how to cultivate peace in our life. I love, one of my favorite quotes is, be the change you wish to see in the world, by Gandhi. I love that. And it's the truth, which is why I have the peace circle. And that's great, but I never knew what peace really was. It was a soundbite to me for most of my life. So you give us these practical tools to be able to steps. And I encourage people, when I show it, you're welcome to take a screenshot, or I know Pat's going to post it on her page and I'll post it on mine as well. So the first one is, I show up daily for prayer and meditation and ask Spirit for help. So tell us about that.
Well, that's the bottom line, I think. I've been showing up for probably 45 years. I've been on the spiritual path for a long, long time. And it's food for me to show. I have to, well, when I first wake up in the morning, I'm grateful for the day and what's going to show up. And I turn over my life and my will to God when I wake up. I do my little intention. And then I walk in the neighborhood, and then I sit and I have my prayer and meditation, and I journal. And I hear spirit, I hear the voice of God within. I ask for a message, and it's just amazing. I ask for help in everything, and I've learned to do that over the years. I had a friend that I used to visit, or I still visit, and I would say, well, what do you think about this? And she said, well, did you go inside and ask spirit? And I was like, no, I didn't do that. So that's what she encouraged me to do, and that's what I do now, and that's what I encourage my friends to do, to go in and ask spirit. So I ask for everything. If I'm driving, do you want me to go that way or this way? So I've cultivated that asking spirit, and I do hear spirit's voice telling me what to do. So showing up daily is a commitment. It's a discipline, and it's something that it's food for me. I have to do. That's the bottom line for me, to show up every day and do that prayer and meditation. Yeah.
And I think to me, it's like putting our GPS, the address in our GPS. When you get in the car, you don't wait till you're driving. You actually put it in to the GPS before you go. So when we are taking in and starting our day with prayer, meditation, or anything like that, we are giving our opportunity to start in the right direction.
Absolutely. It's I love how I'm living my life right now, and by going within for my answers. I always looked outside for, when I first started my own recovery process, and I was so out of touch with my feelings, because I grew up in an alcoholic home. Don't trust, don't talk, and don't feel. And I remember when I started to feel, I would say to friends, would you feel this way if this happened to you? Because I didn't trust at all. Or now, I really trust myself, and I trust that inner voice, and I trust spirit. It's the only way for me.
Absolutely. Okay, the next one is I trust, surrender, and accept what is.
That's another key one. It's for me, it's about turning my will over and trusting God that whatever happens, and there's always something happening in life. There's always something that we need to accept. I really love accept what is. And the next part is Eckhart Tolle, as if I have chosen it. Sometimes that's like, really? I don't think I have chosen this. Kobe was attacked last September by another dog. And it was very, very scary. And I froze, I hurt my back. And I was leaving for Rhode Island in like 4 days, and I couldn't get out of bed. My back was I had twisted it and whatnot. And I remember that accept what is. Wow, accept what is, as if I've chosen this. Why would I choose something like this? But I did, and that's what I practice. I'm accepting it as if I have chosen it, and then the peace comes. When we fight something, a diagnosis or a death, or Kobe getting attacked, or thinking Larry's having a stroke, whatever it is, when I accept it and I stop fighting it, then I have peace. It's really trusting in a higher power, whatever you choose to call that power, God, source, universe, higher power, as long as you have a power greater than yourself. Yeah, and I call that power God. Yeah.
What we resist.
Yes. And half the time, I think we don't even realize we're resisting. We just want our own way. We don't feel safe. I was doing some journaling a few days ago, or maybe it was in the last blog, about why is it hard to let go and let God? Because we don't feel safe. We don't trust. And most of us, including myself, wanted to control everything most of my life, until I, got into recovery and realized that I can't control anything but myself. and my reactions. Yeah. So acceptance is a key for me.
And for 12 steps gives wonderful tools in coping. And there is actually an acceptance prayer. And while it's one of those things that if you can actually Google it and you'd find it, and it's an amazing thing. And a lot of people, I think, when you say something about the 12 steps, they think, well, that doesn't qualify for me.
No.
It's 12 steps to living.
It really is.
Amazing. It's an amazing.
It is. It is. I think there's a book called 12 Steps for Everyone. I think everyone would benefit from going through the 12. That's how I grew up. I really did. And that's very much part of who I am and where I am because of the 12 steps and working the steps. I did it for years. Yeah.
I'm looking for it. That's why I know that I have it. That's why I'm looking to see if I can find it really quickly here, because it is a gift in my that I use it quite often. But you know what? That's okay. We've got
the acceptance one. Are you
yes.
looking for? Acceptance is the answer to all my prayers. That one.
Yes.
If I could, yeah. Acceptance is the answer to all my prayers. If I cannot accept everything and everyone exactly as it is, I will not have peace. Yeah.
It's so true. And it works the same for everyone. You don't have to be in any kind of program or anything. It's the exact same thing. And when we realize that we're all the same, we're just using something different.
Yes.
There's some people that use rage. There's some people that work too much. There's so many different ways, but it's amazing. The next one is number 3 is I choose love instead of fear.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Larry, we thought he was having a stroke a couple of months ago, and he had his arm was feeling paralysis. So we were able to get an appointment with his primary care right away. So we went in there. Doctor checks him out and says, I think you need to go to the emergency room right away. And when you get there, tell them that you're having a stroke. It's like, oh my Lord. So the two of us, we both, that's our theme, kind of like I choose love instead of fear. So we got to the emergency room and they brought him in right away and they checked his vitals and I guess they didn't think he was having a stroke. So we sat in the waiting room for I think like 5 hours. And the two of us just kept choosing love because of course we were afraid and fear came up. And there's always something that's going to make you afraid. Am I going to run out of money? Can I continue to live? I mean, there's always the what ifs, but the two of us just kept choosing love and we stayed at peace, because we just kept saying to ourselves, I choose love. I choose love because all there is love or fear.
It's so true.
We have that, in every moment we have that time to either choose love or fear. And for me, fear is about either I'm living in the future. What if this happens? What if I have to go back to Rhode Island? What if Larry dies? On and on and on. Or it's in the past. When I'm in the present, there is no fear in the present moment. It's when I go to the future or the past. So.
Well, when we're in the past, we feel the presence.
Yes.
That's the only place we can.
Yes, exactly.
So if we can stay in that presence, we don't have a reason to fear.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But boy, that ego gets in there.
Oh, it does. It does.
And the closer or the deeper I get, closer I get to God, the ego will come and attack. And yeah. But I recognize it. That's the key. I recognize it where I never did before. I thought it was true. Now I recognize the ego.
And we can also be the observer rather than yell at it.
Yes.
Realizing that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing and it'll be okay. We don't have to chase it down. We don't have to fear. We don't have to get mad or why am I doing this again? It's simply observing it and saying, oh, and then moving along.
There you are again. Yeah.
So the next one is I release old beliefs, patterns, and reactions that no longer serve me.
So many old beliefs and patterns. One of them for me was defensiveness. I can remember years ago my best friend saying to me, Pat, you know you're defensive? And of course, I became defensive and said, I'm not defensive. What are you talking? I had no idea that I was defensive. And, I sat with that for quite a while. And then I realized, yes, I am defensive, and changed that behavior. But I realized recently, in the last several months, that although I wasn't defensive with the world, if you will, I was defensive with Larry. Like if he suggested something, I would be a little mouthy and want to defend myself. So Spirit showed me that that's not a behavior that I want to continue, and it's not healthy for me or him. So I was able to release. First, I had to become aware that I didn't realize that I was being defensive with him, and I had to become aware of my defensiveness, and then ask God to change it. So that's one area of behavior. I was a people pleaser, as many of us were or are, and as I said, I was always looking outside for praise, for recognition, for admiration, and that's a behavior that doesn't serve me, because it's never enough. When I look outside for somebody to tell me I'm lovable or I am loved, it's never enough. I have to give it to myself. So that was a big one over the years that I worked at changing that behavior. And there were so many beliefs that don't serve me. I'm not enough. I'm not enough as a mother, as a wife, as a friend. That voice kept coming in. I'm not enough, and it still will try to get in there, but I recognize it now. Yeah,
And it's not true. It's not true. Simply,
it's not true.
It's just a thought, like anything else is. We get a choice of what we pay attention to.
Yes. Somebody said to me recently, attention and intention are the same thing. So what I give intention to is my intention. I hadn't thought about that before. I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What, Gina, what beliefs have you had to let go of?
Oh, there's been plenty of insecurities that for me, one of the biggest ones for me was when I was writing my first book is, who am I to write a book?
Oh, I know.
I was so, for me, it was so, I went to East Boston High. Who am I? I didn't even read books. Who am I to write a book or poetry? Spirit flows through me with poetry. It's completely inspired. It comes out whole. I don't think about it. I don't anything. I'm literally the scribe of it. And who am I to write poetry? I don't even read poetry. I've never read poetry. So there's been a lot of that type of insecurities, or even becoming a minister. Who am I? I'm not all holy, and what makes me think that I can lead? Or there's, everybody has those, and one of the things that I look at people and I think, well, I can never do what they do, and the truth is I'm not supposed to, or they wouldn't be here. So it's learning how to not put ourselves above or below, because that's the ego either way, and just be the best at what I can do today.
Yes.
And honor myself, because some days my best will be a 10, and some days my best will be a 2. And there's a reason that it's a 2, and it's okay. We had that conversation before we got started. There's been a lot happening, and I've been really lightening my schedule now. In the past, there would have been guilt and shame about that. And now I honor myself enough to know that, I want to treat myself like I would tell other people. And I'm learning how to do that, just beginning to learn.
One of the things that, a behavior that I had to change And it still can come in, is comparing myself, which is similar to what you said, comparing myself to others, and either feeling better than or less than. And it's all not true. Yeah. So when I see that I'm starting to compare, I recognize it right away, and I stop, because that's not the truth. Yeah.
Well, even when I'm thinking less of me, it means that I am thinking of me too often. Whether I think more or less of me, I'm thinking just of me. When I think of, when I really spend and then I'm living in that, what can I bring to the world? Life flows in amazing ways. That's when manifestation happens. It's not just that I want these things. And I think that I personally believe that there's, I love new thought and I love the way that it works. And I also know that when you went to Maui, part of you going to Maui was because you knew your spirituality and your path was leading you there. You didn't just want to take a trip. And I think that when we live our life, it's not a wish list. I think that everything that we really are in this place of manifesting, I invite people to go deeper and say, how is this going to bring you out in the world? How is this going to make you be the best of you in the world? Because we have a society that's all about the individual, the I. And that's where fears and insecurities and anxiety comes up. That's where it festers. When it's all about me and I'm only thinking of me, there's no time for peace.
Right. Totally right. Absolutely right. Yeah.
So in the interest of time, let's move that. We'll move along anyway.
Okay.
All right. I trust my intuition and go within for my answers. I'm going to read that again. I trust my intuition and go within for my answers.
It's taken a long journey to trust my intuition. I didn't trust myself at all. As I said, that when I started to have feelings, I would ask others, would you feel this way? Because I didn't trust my intuition at all. And so it's been a lifelong journey of really trusting. I had something happen today where I had to speak up to somebody, and I wasn't sure how to say it, what to say, but I knew for my own self-care and for my own self-love, I needed to address the situation. So I trusted that this is where God was leading me, that he would give me the words. And of course, she gave me the words. One of the things that I've been doing lately is I always pray for a word for the year. January comes, and last year it was flow. And I really loved that, allow my life to flow. This year I was like, what is it? What is it? And I was going back and forth. And then it came, I think, on the day after New Year's. It was peaceful presence. And it was like, that feels really good, peaceful presence. That's my word for the year, to be that peaceful presence in the world. So I started changing, and I know that God is neither she or he, but I always used he. Well, I started using she, and I'm saying she is peace. She is my peaceful presence, and she plans my day. And it just feels so good. So if something happens that I'm not quite sure, I just say that affirmation. She plans my day and shows me the way. And so I'm trusting my intuition even more because I'm learning to do it, and it feels good. Yeah. And sometimes, Gina, I'll hear the voice of spirit say, "Oh, go here, do that," and I'll do it. And it's like nothing happens. It's like, well, what was that about? Was I listening to you? And I'll hear spirit say, yes, you were listening to me. I'm just training you. Will you follow me? Even though you may not know what happened. But if I say do that and you do it and nothing shows up in your mind, that's okay, So, yeah.
And also to remember that we are the hands, the heart, and the voice of spirit. So I may not see something happening, but I can trust that something's happening. there might be something for someone else, that I was in the right place or the right time for someone else to hear something or not hear something. We don't know the bigger picture of things. So part of faith is, the biggest part of faith is unseen. That's where, everything is manifested in the unseen. It's not once we see it that it's there. It was there all along. So it's really being in that place and understanding that when we don't see that it's still there.
Yes, yes. I can remember a quote years ago from Eleanor Roosevelt, and I remember writing it and putting it on my desk. When you learn how to trust yourself, you will learn how to live. And I remember at that point, years ago, I was struggling to trust myself and my intuition, but that is so true. All our answers are within. We just need to take that time to go within and to listen to that voice, because the voice is there for everybody. Yeah, the biggest thing.
Cindy said the biggest thing I have had to let go of is to let go of being disappointed because someone didn't behave the way I wanted or expect them to behave. This was life-changing for me. Now I just love.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's always about who I am and how I'm showing up. It's never about you. And that's the thing that we forget. It's my reaction to you that makes me feel anything. My resistance is my resistance. And some people can say whatever and we're fine. But someone that we love, like you said, you're different with your husband sometimes. Exactly. Because the people that live with us and really know us, sometimes it's a whole different circumstance.
Yes. And, I think I know a lot of my growth has been with my family, my children, and learning to detach from what they're doing or what they're not doing. And, I've read the book, Language of Love. There's 5 different languages of love. And mine is gifts and cards. And so when my kids that was not their language of love, and I had to accept that it doesn't have anything to do with them loving me. It's just that it's not their language of love. Yeah.
And it works. Everybody's different. If you have adult children, that they're going to do it their way. And as much as and in learning how to, in some ways, not have expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned to not ask the questions I don't want the answers to.
Mm-hmm.
That's if there's a doubt, don't ask.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Sometimes the best thing I can say is nothing.
Yes.
And I wasn't born with a filter. I really was not born with a filter. And I have to be also mindful, because for me, when I get tired or frustrated or, anytime I'm anxious, all of those things weaken my filter. And I found myself one day last week, I snapped in a circumstance that I normally would never. And immediately I realized and apologized, but I also realized I was past my point. That was what showed me this isn't who I am anymore. And not who I want to be. So we get these opportunities.
I love to call them opportunities, Gina. I don't like to think of problems, or I like to see it as opportunities for me to evolve and for me to grow and for me to change and for me to open up to more of what God wants to give me. Everything is an opportunity if I look at it that way.
And when I'm not in the right place to do that, sometimes the best thing is to not call. Yeah. I can say a prayer and move along with my day. Tomorrow is another day. So, and sometimes we say we pick your battles, but I don't even want to call it a battle,
Right.
Make your choices.
Right. one of the biggest gifts that I've received over the past several years with COVID is my relationship with my daughter. And she started to call every day. And we have just built this beautiful, deep relationship that we did not have before. And it's just such a gift to me. I can be there for her now and be the mother that I wasn't growing up, because I didn't have any self-love. I had 4 children and I didn't know how to love myself. So I really couldn't love them the way they needed to. And I was just going through my own abuse and healing from that. But now I can be there for her, and it's glorious for both of us. It's just amazing. So that was an opportunity that came from something COVID. It was a
It's
wonderful.
often,
Yes, yeah.
I think also that as our children get older, they realize that we know more than they thought we knew. When they have their own children and they're going through similar circumstances, all those things that we knew nothing about and they didn't want to hear about, suddenly, we may know a little bit.
Well, what happened to me recently was such a gift. My daughter had some things that she was dealing with one of her employees, and she told me how she handled it, how she communicated. So I was really seeing the love that she had for her own son and for community and for family and her communication skills. So I was like, wow, she has really grown. So I was journaling and I said to God, gee, do you think that I did anything, or did she learn anything from me? Kind of a thing. And Spirit said, well, where do you think she learned how to love? It was from you. And you don't have to, I'm telling you the truth. You don't have to ask her or even say anything. So it's like, okay, God, I trust and I believe that, who she has become did have something to do with me. I was her mother, even though I didn't think I was good enough. So I was talking to her on the phone, I think that same day, and I just said to her, I'm so proud of you, and how you communicate and how you love. I'm just so proud of you, on how you're leading your life. And she said, Mom, I learned it from you. I was just like beside myself. It was such a gift. So I'm embracing that. Although I made mistakes, as we all do, I still gave her.
You're living it.
Yes, I was living it. I've been living it. She has seen me heal and transform. I mean, she knows my history of sexual abuse and alcoholism, and she has seen my transformation and how I've worked. I think the greatest gift that I have given my children and that we can give our children and family members is our own healing. And that's the gift that I've given my children.
I think you go before that, though. You have courage to share the darker sides. You give, and I also believe that every time you let people in, more light comes in. So every time you say the thing that's so hard to tell people, there's more light there and the shame goes away.
Yes.
So there's an extra layer of healing when we share what we've been through. You have a gift that you have given so many of us. When you go through those dark moments, you share them, which shines the light of divine on them. And of course, it's like an antiseptic for life. And it allows the light in ways that nothing else can. But a lot of people don't know how to do that and don't have the strength and courage that you do. So you are a gift that you shine this light and you show them it's okay to be authentic.
Right.
That you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you.
Right. Sometimes I'll say to God, just whatever's going on, and say, you really don't want me to share that. And it's like, I do. Oh, man, I got to share that. I struggled with how I looked and whatever it is that I'm struggling. I mean, it's not really fun to say that I'm defensive with my husband. I'm supposed to be the big spiritual coach and I'm defensive and I'm jealous, and I get angry and all that stuff. And I share it because I know we're all one. And I know that if I'm struggling with it, somebody else is struggling with it. And if I can share my struggle so you don't feel so alone, amen. Amen.
Exactly. It's about the human.
Yes.
We're all human.
Yes.
And our next one, I forgive and stop judging, knowing that we are all doing our best. And that was kind of what Cindy was saying as well. You know, I forgive and I stop judging.
Yes.
How did you begin practicing forgiveness? Or what are some of the things that you do around that?
Wow. Wow. Well, I shared in a blog recently that it took me 3 years to forgive my father. He was one of the abusers. And when I first went into therapy and memories started to come up of being sexually abused by my father, I wanted to forgive right away. I didn't want to go through the grief and the pain, the anger, the denial, the sadness. And thank God my therapist was very smart. And she said, "You're not ready to forgive." And I listened to her. And it took me 3 years to forgive him. Um, and once I did forgive him, I was free. So the point was that sometimes we need to take that space and that time to forgive and not to do a spiritual bypass and forgive because I don't want to feel. So that was, a story that I shared in my blog. For me now, forgiveness is when I find myself judging. The bottom line for me is I know that when I judge somebody else, I'm judging myself because we're one. So that stops me in my tracks when I'm judging. Because if I'm judging them, I'm really judging me. And we know about projection. Oftentimes we project onto somebody else what we don't want to see in ourselves. So I'm able to forgive myself when I find myself judging. So forgiveness is a big part. I mentioned in a blog too, Gina, are you familiar with the Ho'oponopono?
Yes.
Yes. So that has been really powerful for me. It's I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. It's called Ho'oponopono, if anybody's interested. It's an ancient Hawaiian prayer. So I do that a lot during meditation at night. I do it practically all through the night when I wake up. I love you. And if I'm struggling with somebody or have a resentment, I say, I love you, Barbara. Please forgive me. Thank you. And it's like, I don't know, it erases the judgment. It erases any resentment that I have, and I'm free.
And I stopped taking things personally and feel responsible to fix others. Again, I'm going to repeat that. I stopped taking things personally and feeling responsible to fix others.
Another big one. I mean,
Huge.
I took everything personally. I thought it was about me. If you didn't answer my text or whatever, I thought, what did I do wrong? It was taking things personally. Big one, big one.
And trying to fix people. It's not my job to fix you. Whatever's going on in your life, to me, how people treat us is a reflection of them.
Yeah, took me so long to learn it.
It did. That's a life lesson. If you can, some little pearls of wisdom. If you can learn just that, it's amazing the amount of pain that we don't have to go through.
Oh, self-induced suffering. Self-induced suffering.
It all is. It all is. Anytime we're suffering, we're staying in the problem. We don't realize that we have the choice to step out of it. Pain happens. Suffering is choosing, whether it's conscious or unconscious, to stay there. Right. So, but those two things, learning how to, not try to fix you. You go through whatever you want. I was talking to someone today. I have two nephews and they're night and day. And one of them's, 25 years old and he thinks he knows everything, and he just, And they're perceived mistakes. Don't get me, but I mean, the car gets ruined, the bike gets everybody's fault, but his. It's always
Oh,
something,
yes.
and you're looking and you just wanna,
I
and
know.
it's not mine.
I
And I
know.
have to love him exactly where he is.
Yes. Yes.
And it's part of youth, and everyone has their path, and it's his. It's not
That is it. That is so key. If I'm looking at I have 6 grandchildren, and if one of them is struggling, and you know, I can't fix him. And what helps me is to say, it's his journey. It's his journey. He has to learn his own lessons. So I detach and I send love. I detach and I send love and trust.
and I was raised to be the fixer. I was raised to be, to make everybody happy as the people pleaser.
Yes.
So to actually learn how to detach and allow you to stay in the pet. It's not my job to fix.
Yes.
It's hard sometimes.
It is.
The old pulls, and the truth is, I will have no peace until I accept it as it is. So do I want to be peaceful, or do I want the chaos? Because I was raised in chaos. Anytime there's any kind of addiction, we know there's pure chaos.
Yes.
So we get a choice. We can't have peace and chaos at the same time.
Right.
So
Right.
what do we choose? So I
Right.
love and we've got one left, and in the interest of time, I'm going to move on.
Right.
And any
Right.
of these could have lasted an hour in itself, but
Right.
I practice living in the present moment rather than the past or the future.
That's all there is the present moment. This moment is all there is. The future isn't here. The past is gone. And if I want to stay peaceful, I need to practice being in the present moment. Of course, my mind will go off, and I have to, I have to bring it back to this moment, because this moment is the only moment that's real. The past, as I said, is gone, and the future is not here. So, really practicing that, and that's 24 hours a day practicing staying in the present moment.
And to me, the biggest part of that is the word practice, because that's exactly what it is. It's a practice.
Yes, it is.
Mindfulness
Yes.
is that practice of just being here now.
Yes.
I never knew what any of that was. I grew up inner city Boston, and I only knew noise, to the point that I couldn't sleep without noise. I grew up right next to the airport, so I was used to blocking out. Logan Airport was right in my backyard. So I was used to blocking out that kind of noise. So I went to sleep with the radio because I couldn't handle silence. It caused a ringing in my ear. So my whole life was so chaotic, I couldn't handle stillness.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So life changes in amazing ways when we allow it. And it's all a practice.
Every day we show up, and every day we say, okay, what's next? And we don't, my motto is, I want to live my life to the fullest, because we're not promised tomorrow. And I was with my son last September, and I was telling him that's my motto. He said, Mom, that's everybody's motto. And I thought, I don't think it's everybody's model. It doesn't matter. It's my model. And I show up every day, and be grateful. Be grateful for everything that I have. And the more grateful we are, the more God will give us.
And you are a wonderful example of that. So thank you. And I want people to know, how do they get your books?
They could contact me personally, or they could go on Amazon. Both books are on Amazon.
It's Never Too Late for Love. That's your most recent one with
Yes,
your beloved.
Yes. And my first book, Simply a Woman of Faith, was published 15 years ago, which is hard to believe. Yeah.
this is your website. People can go to your website and
Yeah, people can go to my
sign up for
website.
your blog. It's
Sign up for
wonderful.
the blog.
You will love the weekly blog. And she's got pictures on there and all kinds of things. And you take us through your life. You know, when you were on the cruise ship and Dancing with the Stars, you even uploaded videos. You take us with you, and it's a gift. And this is your email. So if people want to email you, they can email you as well.
Yes.
You know, they can reach out to you by email, or they can reach out to you, you know, by your website. They can contact you there. And, you know, you are just such a gift, and I am so grateful for you being here. And they can go on your website to find their book. Are you also on Amazon?
Yes.
Okay, so they can also find you there, because there was a question in the chat about that earlier on, and I knew we'd get to it, so I wanted to put the information up for people.
Thank you.
So grateful that you've been here with me. I actually just want to mention that I'm starting a class next week. Myself and Lisa Conlin, she's amazing, and we're going to have some fun with practical mysticism. Awaken your inner mystic. So reach out to me, Gina at cslboston.org. Again, it's Gina at cslboston.org, or my number is up there, and you can feel free to reach out to me. We'd love to have you join our class. It's a 10-week class, Wednesday nights. It begins at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So we'd love to have you here with us. So, and Cindy said she already has it in her Amazon cart. She already has your book in her Amazon cart. That's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
But people can remember, we are here on this network for good news, and this is Finding the Joy in the Journey, and we are blessed to be doing just that. So thank you, Pat, for helping us today, helping us to allow that peace and that joy to flow. Thank you for your helpful hits and your personal experience. And they can go to your blog to get those weekly, because you put those pearls out weekly, and I'm so grateful. So I can't wait to have you back. We'll do it again. Absolutely.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Gina. It's been an honor for me to be here. Thank you, my dear. And I send you love in your ministry and all that you're bringing to the world. You are a light.
Oh, thank you. And think about it. You helped me bring me even to CSL. You were that final person. I'm like, absolutely. So if there's somebody that that you think could use our teachings, let them know. Connect people to do the kindness, because you never know. It changed my life. So
and here we are all these years later, right?
Absolutely. So have a wonderful week, everyone, and find the joy in your journey. You cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy story. So have a blessed week. Namaste.
Namaste.